The player swaps, the benchings, the debuts, all of that in this week's episode of Facecheck. Week 1 of Summer Split, the second half, the summer half. I don't even know what it's called. In the books. dGon, Dom, and LS here to break it down. Both these guys had their co-streams go on. LS, how was your co-stream this weekend?
I mean, it was it was good. I mean, ProView's like, I love that ProView is now here. I mean, I had access to premium this week, but I only ended up using free. But ProView is really good because it allows you to be more specific with your criticism of certain players. Whereas before, people could just, chalk it up to other stuff. But when you can talk about in real time the mistakes that they're making and then like draw about it on screen and whatnot, it's really hard for people who don't know what they're talking about to really try to tangle with it. So that's pretty good. I think ProView is probably one of the best features that Riot's granted to like co-streamers. So happy about that. Games were, some of them were a mess, but then again, I only watched 4 games on each day because sleep schedule, it's just way too hard. Yeah.
I mean, that's still most of the games. So
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So,
it was
so
quite
you're not
the
watching
weekend.
CLG games is what I'm getting out of this. Like, is there any reason, or they're kind of smurfing it up?
Okay. Yeah.
Roxa pulled out the Karthus. I thought you liked Karthus, LS. Like, what's wrong with you?
Oh my god. Yeah, so the Karthus is obviously clearly premeditated though. If you watch the draft, but then you also just see the champions that they're responding to, you can just tell that their entire draft's pre-planned. I mean, CLG, I love Tafo, and like I talked a lot with like Hotshot, right? This was like a year ago. This is before I joined T1 and everything. And it's like,
well, you were still with
feels
CLG.
like 2 years. It feels 2 years in a row. They told me all their roster changes that they were going to do before they did it. And on both phone calls, I literally just said,
What, you like
is
started
not-
crying? You're like,
this
please.
is not, yeah. I'm like, this ain't it. Like, this is, oh my Lord. So I tried to tell the Titanic about the iceberg, but it did not end up working.
But the iceberg went out. CLG, one of 2 teams to go 0-3 this week, as well as unfortunate evil geniuses. It didn't quite work out for them this week. You got coin flip Chizuke just taking the lead, throwing it away, and then we already had the Fiesta, the split in week 1 with their matchup with FlyQuest and evil geniuses. Dom, you had a banger tweet in the middle of your Insomnia co-stream with the LPL about the game times between which 2 teams and over in the LPL being faster.
FPX and Rogue Warriors played a best of 3 that had a lower game time than EG versus FlyQuest. Like, significantly.
True.
Like 10-minute plus lower game time. Like, the thing is, like, when LPL teams are better than other LPL teams, they just kill the Nexus. I don't know how to explain it. They just, like, they literally just get to the point where they're strong enough to siege the Nexus in front of the enemy team, and they just win the game. So, like, one of the games was just 17 minutes. Like, they completely, like, Nuggery just went off, and sometimes when Nuggery goes off, like, he goes off so hard that the game completely explodes, and you just have to, like, accept that he now is going to, like, win the game sub 20 minutes almost alone. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's maybe it is just like LCS macro is so high level now that the teams just are competing on a level where, like, it's a movable object versus whatever the fucking saying is,
Nice
one.
one. Yeah. Things. Yeah. Unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
Yeah, it's something like that. But it's like not that. It's like the fucked up version. It's the movable object and the stoppable force. That's what it actually is.
It's still equal. Got it.
I've been up for 30 hours. Fuck all you. All right.
I know, dude. So that was my next question. How, for everyone that doesn't know, like, what is your schedule into these types of days? Because you go from co-streaming LCS and straight into LPL. Like, how does this work?
So I'm supposed to, like, have, like, 7 hours where I can sleep. I mean, obviously, like, I get off stream and, like, I don't know if normal people can just go to sleep instantly, but I'm not one of those people. Like, sleeping for me takes, like, normally, like, 30 minutes to an hour of me just, like, laying there and trying to sleep. I just pretend I sleep. I'm, like, sleeping until eventually I just start sleeping. So I get off stream. I've been on stream for like 6 hours or whatever. Have to eat, sleep for like 5-6 hours, get up and then do the co-stream. It's just pretty rough on like Sundays, and then I just wasn't able to sleep because I guess it was like first LPL co-stream. So I was like hyped up, couldn't sleep, so I haven't slept in like 32 hours or some shit at this point.
All right, expecting some banger takes here as we dive into week 1 of the LCS. I think that's everything we needed to hit before we dive into the big change. We talked about it a little bit here at the top, but yeah, we'll go to Cloud9 second, because Team Liquid playing Alphari for one game and one game only, ball so hard till he gets benched, and now coming on in is Bob Jenkins, who's been in Academy for 3 years, known as a Ken and One Trick. All of a sudden pops on in, and now Alphari is from the bench. And when they won, of course, they interviewed Jenkins, and Thomas, like he is, the kindest boy, the nicest boy, talking about how great Alphari is and what a great resource he is. And he asked for 1v1s and, just kind of twisting the dagger in a little bit here. What did you make of this move, LS? Why one game and then the swap? Like, you had all summer to make, or all off season to make this like swapsies, but it was just one game.
Well, I mean, I imagine. So again, I mean, it's all going to be conjecture, right?
All conjecture, yes. Sorry,
it's all conjecture, right? So the thing is if you look at them, like when they're on the play, like the studio, right? The row of the computers with all the players on it, right? After their losses, they look so dejected. But they also don't really look. It's really weird. It's like 4 of them are angry, and then Jensen is like carefree. Something's like kind of weird.
Yeah, 1.4 million would do that to you, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that me and Doublelift both commented on it apparently, because talking point, I guess. At the end of the game yesterday, I have no idea. Obviously, one game means that something had to have happened on a personal level. Something happened behind the scenes and like all this other stuff. So one of the things that I've talked about that I think is really important when making teams or rosters nowadays, especially in a region where everyone is about self-preservation and job security, right, above each other, is that I think stacking the deck personality-wise is a really important thing, and I think it's something that vetting processes when building teams or constructing teams hasn't been done. Because I don't think that general managers or owners have ever considered that as an angle, that you have to stack the deck personality-wise.
Except for CLG, sure but everyone... they forget the skill part. They just have, they're like, hey, we're happy. And
well,
it's
no, I don't even think CLG is a stack deck. To be complete, I really don't. I mean, I can't say certain things, right?
Do you have an example of like a good one?
No, I mean, I can't. What, a stack deck?
Yeah.
A stack deck, I think, was probably Rocks Tigers, right? And it's prime.
Gotcha.
I think that's an example of a stack deck. I would say maybe another example of a stack deck was probably Damwon with Nuggery, to a certain extent, right? From all the stories that came out, as well as the hardships that they overcame, and the camaraderie. I mean, they literally wouldn't even necessarily kick players, right? They just moved them into different, but it was really something else. But anyways, moving on, TL probably has a very, I don't know, I just imagine that it's dysfunctional, right? That's just my hypothesis. I don't think that you bench your best player out of nowhere if something isn't going on and then make that, I'm going to call it weird. I think that video is weird. It added so much more drama and I think added so much more fuel to the fire. If you really wanted to quell things, I think that you just make up an excuse, right? I think that's probably just the best thing. Like, oh, he's sick, or something is going on. Huh?
Oh, wait, they already used that one. Never mind.
Migraines.
No, but I think that you would probably do something along those lines. So I don't know. I haven't heard anything through the grapevine either. And I imagine that if he's not there next week, then something will eventually slip.
Yeah. It was the big move that came on out, and I think it gives us all a greater appreciation for the Papa Smithy what was it, clarity videos that he does over and over again each split and what their goals are. Because that was, I don't know, I think that was the goal, to try and give some transparency, but it made it a little more awkward. What'd you make of the move there, Dom?
I mean, anytime I see like either of these moves, it just has to be attitude related in my mind. Like, I don't see any way that it's skill based. Like, even if Alphari died to every single top gank in the best of 5 and then looked bad in one game, like, if you look at overall Team Liquid 2021, he's been the biggest part of their success. I mean, he literally is just like the best player on the team. So, I mean, maybe Core JJ, you could argue like
Core.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say that Alphari like really like was gapping everyone throughout most of spring. So I just can't see a world where it's not like an attitude related thing or like disagreement in ways they see the game. But yeah,
it could also be. I mean, I'll say this, right? It could be that it's not actually. Well, it could be like a totalitarian thing, right? In the sense that like, they want certain things done a certain way, and he just went against the grain, right? Remember, the Shy just locked in a champion, I guess, against orders, like right? It could have been something like that, that just ended up happening, and I feel like this could just be one of the knee-jerk responses, which is ultimately cutting your nose to spite your face, right? At least I feel like it, because. But again, I mean, that's only if that's actually the case.
Sure. And again, we won't know until the next video that comes out from Jad or a statement, but I think it was definitely the biggest move. Yeah, probably the biggest move of the weekend, because, everyone was excited to see King in for VENN over at Cloud9, but then this kind of swapped on in. When it comes to play, I think the playbook's pretty straightforward for teams playing against Team Liquid from here on out. It's camp up there. Know that Santorin will also probably be babysitting Jenkins, but I mean, it worked out for Cloud9 as they were able to take the victory over TL in day number 3, and that's a team. The next team we're going to take a look at, Cloud9. The MSI slump came on in. The heavy overreactions also came through as well. Oh my God, VENN's overpaid. I can't believe this team is the one that we sent to MSI, all this stuff. And they do slide and drop 2 games in a row, one to Golden Guardians. That was the big upset. The second one to 100 Thieves, where it just felt like they couldn't get anything going. And then they put together a performance against TL to get a victory where they looked like the better team. Dom, how'd you feel about this Cloud9 roster now with this big swap and coming back from MSI?
Well, I mean, like, obviously they're not in the best shape right now, but I don't really think that should matter too much. Like, when you look at the grand scheme of things, right? Like, they literally just won spring, went to MSI. They decided to take a break after MSI so that they don't get burnt out, knowing that 8 teams are going to make playoffs. So you're pretty much guaranteed to make playoffs with like 14 wins. Like, I don't know if CLG is going to beat that. Golden Guardians is going to beat that. Like, it's going to take a fucking miracle for them to not make playoffs. So like, them playing bad in the first week is just like kind of expected to me. Like, they started slow last season, right? They started slow in lock-in. I feel like it's the same thing again, and now they have like a new AD that they're playing with. There's probably like a little bit of like potential tension in the environment. Obviously, I don't know how the Sven benching went down, but I mean, I know Mithy and Perkz are really close with Sven, so I assume that it wasn't something that was like unanimous, unless Sven did something really like out of line where there was no other option. So I just feel like it's like a weird time. But I mean, I just think that the strangest thing was like the reaction from the community. Like, I mean, part of the reason that LS like criticizes Renekton is because of what happened in that game. Like, if there is a situation where the Renekton ends up misplaying or getting fucked by potentially a teammate, in this situation, he hardened it. Perkz just fucking ran it, right? Like, flashed in, stunned a ward. Like, you do that in these types of lanes, you're just fucked. Like, the whole game is just ruined off that. And then he like proceeds to go 0-7. I mean, he didn't play a good game by any means, but this is just like, you cannot do that when you play mid Renekton. You cannot just like randomly flash stun a ward and lose a 2v2 when you're playing Nidalee Renekton mid jungle. So like, for me, like, it was just so weird to see the reaction from the community that like there was like people legitimately calling for punishment, like hundreds of upvotes being like Perkz deserves some type of punishment for like going 0-7-0, where it's like, dude, if anyone knows like who Perkz is, like, yeah, I mean, he fucked up really bad and he played like shit, but I don't think that he was literally trolling the game. He's just like the type of player that he's gonna like try to get things back, and he's gonna try to force certain fights because he knows that the game is doomed. Like, he could just sit back and like go 0-4 and let them lose the game, but he like decided to like try to actually have things happen in the game that would lead to a situation that could be profitable. So like the fact that people were legitimately calling for Perkz to be benched and saying that he deserved punishment, and this is like multiple hundreds of upvotes, thousands of upvotes on this type of stuff, like it's so ridiculous to me. And that was like the reason why I made the tweet that I did, which is like, if you look at the fact that he came here and won, and he was the MVP of the finals, and like when you look at like crunch time, like he played bad at MSI, don't get me wrong, but like Blabber also played bad at MSI. Fudge was like pretty much the only person that played consistently well at that tournament, so there was like a lot of stuff. I mean, Vulcan played well in some games. Some of the games, like he didn't play terribly, but he didn't play great. So like when you look at the situation, it would be so ridiculous to like bench Sven and Perkz in the same fucking week after a week 1 when they've been scrimming 3 days. Like, it is actually just so insane that this is like the take that you're trying to like that people are trying to like push in the community. Like, this is the narrative. Like, yeah, Perkz is just like washed up now, where it's like, yeah, I mean, he had a bad MSI. If he plays the way he did that Renekton game for like half the split, like then there's gonna be a fucking problem. But like, you look at the next game, like his Silas game was pretty good. I mean, he got caught once late game, but outside of that, he played a pretty fucking solid game. Like, effectively shit on Jenkins, smurfed for the majority of it. And so it's such like a knee-jerk reaction. And then like everything that I said about it just got taken massively out of context, where I'm like, if you compare him to another player that is the only player that we know in this bracket of like $2 million plus a year, which is SwordArt. SwordArt is somebody who got third when he joined the championship team. Like, he joined TSM, where Bjergsen, the guy who's like presumably has a lot of say in that team, is the one that is the coach leading the direction. Perkz played with a rookie top laner. Fudge ended up doing well and exceeding expectations. But if you look at like the rosters on paper, like Perkz just outperformed SwordArt given the expectations that both teams had set. And then if you even just look at like the individual skill level, so it's so crazy that like people would meme SwordArt and be like, oh, toss 6 million. But no one was calling for, like, I didn't even know who the academy support was for TSM. Like, apparently,
yeah, I'm actually looking that up right now.
Yeah, so apparently there's like a PCS support. I literally never heard anyone calling for SwordArt to actually get benched for whoever that guy's name is. It starts with like a Y or something. I don't even know who that guy is.
You're
San. Who? I don't know who. Whatever. Point is, no one was calling for him to get benched when he was like running it. And then Perkz dies like 7 times in one game, goes 0-7-0. And now he's going to get benched for copy. Like, you're really just going to bench him off game 2 of like, I mean, benching him after MSI would make more sense than benching him after game 2 of the fucking split. So like this shit was like so triggering to deal with, because it's like, it's such like an extreme mindset. And what happens is like, as soon as a couple players start getting benched, people like get bloodthirsty and they're like, everyone needs to be benched. What? Like, chill out. Like, chill out. It's all good. Like, they lost a game that they shouldn't have fucking lost, where Perkz played like shit. It happened. Like, don't bench the whole fucking team. Jesus.
LS.
I mean, Perkz. I mean, yeah. I guess the criticism for him, right, is that he's been playing up and down roller coaster for a few weeks or whatever. SwordArt. I mean, I agree. SwordArt is the thing that I think is probably the worst thing that has happened to LCS in terms of like signings in recent years. And I mean, I talked about that on my own stream. I've talked about it elsewhere, that he's not worth the money. I think very few players are actually worth 7 figures. I think that there's not many players in the world that are actually worth that amount, rather than allocating it elsewhere and getting more upside. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I felt like, so my interpretation of it, because I didn't see the context fully behind like your tweet and other stuff or what you said on stream. Like, in my head, SwordArt was permaflamed. I mean, I always used to meme him. I actually said that you could swap him with an academy support or another support in the league, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, right, between his play, because there's nothing standouty about his play. I mean, he didn't belong, I think, getting imported in the first place due to the nature of the role, number one, but then also the salary, right? I held that stance since pretty early on when that even came out. But I don't know. I didn't see the threads flaming Perkz, so I can't speak to the level of it. But I mean, I guess that's pretty much my only take on the whole debacle.
Yeah, it was like shocking. It was shocking the level of it because it was like 100% serious. Like, what does punishment even mean? Like, he deserves some type of punishment for going 0-7-0. Talking about fine.
Here's the thing.
Like, do you want him to get flogged? Like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna tie him upside down and just beat him? Like, bro, he went 0-7-0 in game 2 of LCS. What is punishment? What the fuck?
So
like, how does this take?
The thing is that I think that I think on the aspect of Sword Art and Perkz in particular. I think on the aspect of Sword Art and Perkz, I think they're both. I had this take. It went into a YouTube clip that I think they're both unbenchable, or they're immune to being benched. I don't think it's possible to bench either of them.
Perkz and who?
Perkz and Sword Art. I don't think it's possible to bench either of them. And the reason that I don't think that it's possible to bench either of them is because I think the people who spearheaded the decisions to get them or signed off on it, so whether it's the general manager or the board, or not the board, but whoever it is, right? If you bench these players with the amount that the board or the investors or whatever had to be convinced to spend on them, you end up looking like an idiot. So whoever spearheaded it will probably just override or veto any decision to even try something like that, because it just makes not only your org look really bad, investors are going to look at you like you're fucking stupid. And why did we just spend this money when you probably had to convince them to spend that much money, right? I think both are just impervious to getting benched. I don't think it's possible.
I mean, that's what I thought about Alphari, to be honest. So,
well, Alphari's only 1 million, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I know that sounds weird to say it's only 1 million, but that's a big. Isn't that that's a big leap?
Don't show this on stream because you know you're not supposed to show like Reddit comment names. But here, you can just click that LS so you know what I'm looking at or what I'm referencing.
All right.
Okay, hold on. I'm looking.
All right. Yeah.
That's equally comparable. Yeah.
That's
Dude,
like
these people
that's
are
crazy,
fucking,
right?
Like
this is really ill, man. Like, this is really ill. And then like all the context, and like what's so crazy is in my tweet I didn't say, and obviously the hate thread is going to be super biased. Like the way that the guy, I didn't say that Sword Art should be flamed more. At no point did I say Sword Art deserves to be flamed. I use Sword Art as a benchmark of like, dude, Perkz is playing better than Sword Art, and people are saying that he deserves punishment and that he deserves to be benched off this. And like they're just like they're relishing in the idea of him potentially being benched. They're like, oh, this would be so sick. Don't wait, I said don't show it on stream, man. Oh, you blacked out the names? Okay, if you blacked out the names, then it's fine.
We're good.
Yeah, like this is like really this is concerning to me in the community. This is what I'm referencing. So for me, it's like, I'm not saying that you should flame Sword Art more. I'm saying you should flame Perkz less, if anything. But I didn't even actually say that in the tweet. I'm just drawing a comparison of like, don't you guys think that this is ridiculous for the person that just won, that was just MVP of the finals, to have this reaction after game 2? This is really insane. Like,
I think it's sunken cost fallacy with this one. C9 can't just accept that money's gone.
They're talking about him like he's a piece of shit on the side of your fucking boot, where it's like, dude, he's just worthless, man. Like, they just can't accept that he's just never going to be good again. Like, what the fuck, bro? He went 0-7-0 in one Renekton mid. It's not like he's a famous Renekton mid player. That's like, Perkz is known in LCS in regular season for just like playing new champs all the time. And like, you even talk to him, you hear his interviews, and he's like, part of my mentality is I just like, I'm going to play a lot of champions so that my team is comfortable with playing. And you can criticize this theory all you want, but he's came out publicly and said part of the reason why he plays a lot of champions is because he wants to be able to pull out whatever champion he thinks is best in clutch moments, and he wants his team to be completely comfortable with playing different styles. So like, this is like something that he thinks is valuable to train his team. So to me, this is just like beyond like anything that I can see is reasonable. And no one took it like that. Like, people in the community didn't take it like that. Azael's like take was like, yeah, it is. It like, I assume that it's just because Perkz is more popular. That was Azael's take. Like, Perkz is more popular, so he's going to get more hate, which I think that's reasonable. But I still don't think it's right. Like, even if that, like, I don't think that just because you're more popular, you should automatically just get more hate than somebody who's less popular. I think that the amount of hate that you get should be like comparable to what level of play you're actually playing at. Like, if you're the most popular player in the world and you play poorly in one game, you shouldn't get more hate than somebody who's actually terrible.
Yeah, but that's how that works. Like, I immediately I think of just like LeBron, right? People
Yeah, but
hate
LeBron
on LeBron
is a
way
fucking,
more.
don't get me started on LeBron. LeBron is not a GOAT. Like, LeBron is a, like, he does some bum ass shit sometimes on the court. Like,
He does, but he's probably one of the best players of our era.
Sure, but he's not a GOAT. Calling him a GOAT with the shit that he does, like the crying to the refs nonstop, compare that shit to what Michael did, and like you can see what the frustration comes from. At least what, like, his whole game now is like no defensive effort, like literally just walking on the court, man, complaining to the refs every single time, crying for fouls nonstop. It is really, really upsetting. It's really upsetting.
We see what side of the coin Dom's on with the LeBron hate.
No, it's
but
like,
yes,
and people legitimately are trying to say that like LeBron is the greatest player of all time over players like Michael Jordan. It's so insane.
Yeah, that's
It's
bad.
like,
That's
it's like
bad.
you can
That's
tell
bad take.
that these people didn't watch Michael Jordan. They never watched Michael Jordan. They just only watch LeBron, and they're like, yeah, well, he's in my era, so I'm just gonna say he's the GOAT.
Everyone watching Facecheck, this is cool. We just discovered a brand new spot that Dom does not like, live on video. That was interesting.
Right.
We'll shift it away from the hate talk and the Perkz talk, the basketball talk, and bring it on over to I think the next team here that I kind of wanted to get your opinion on. It's 100 E's, since we only play Karma in the mid lane for Abbedagge. They go 2-1. Abbedagge, after day one, is same kind of hard reaction, like Karma. We're gonna go to Karma. They lock in Karma again. Everyone's like, no, not Karma again. But then they find success in it and then go back into it. Yeah, I mean, it's hard overreaction, but you just brought in this guy to play different champs, and he's just supporting others. You could have just used him.
Why does he have to play different champs? I never understand that. So just because so if Karma is actually a strong pick in the meta and it's a flex pick, so what their strategy was they would pick it early, and if the enemy team picked an engage support, then they would just play a counter to the engage support, something like Braum. So if the enemy team picks Leona, they play Braum and they play Karma into a bunch of these matchups mid. Like, what is the issue? Like, how? Like, I feel like their drafts were fine. They had like the Karma Cog Braum comp. I thought that was a good draft. So I have no idea why these situations are being like construed in a way where we're like them drafting a pick devalues his purpose as a player. He's not going to play only Karma for 28 games, but like overall I think that it worked out over the weekend. I think it was a good pick for them.
What did you think about the picks and putting the flex of Karma here in the drafts, LS?
I mean, I think Karma. I mean, I think people that have flamed Karma over the last 6 months. Dom, I'm sorry, I have no idea if you did, but I think most people that do are pretty silly. Because Karma's a champion.
I like Karma.
That. Okay, you like Karma.
Karma.
Okay, good. There's a lot of people that flamed Karma over the last 6 months because Karma's a champion that you can't see what she's doing. So for a spectator, she doesn't look like she's doing anything unless you see her like throw up the 1k shields in late game, right? And it just looks broken. Or like a carry is about to die and Karma throws up the massive shield and the carry lives. Which we actually got to see in the 100 Thieves game. But generally, Karma is very akin to Gangplank, or very akin to a lot of control champions that don't have like a wow factor, like an explosive control-y thing, right? Where if your team is winning, Karma will make you win harder, or if the team is even, Karma's going to make it really fucking hard for you to lose. But if Karma's behind, or if Karma's team is behind, she's going to look useless. She can't do anything, right? Because she's an enabler. She supports, she like steroids people who are in the game. So mid laner's behind, jungler's behind, AD carry's behind. Doesn't matter if Karma's even. Doesn't matter if Karma's ahead. The nature of the champion means that there's nothing for her to support, so she can't do anything. And this is actually a really big problem with the league community. It's a really big problem with analysis. It's a really big problem with people who call themselves coaches or analysts and try to chime in on the subject matter because they clearly don't know what the fuck is actually going on with the champion. So Karma's pretty fucking broken. Her items cost less. She hits like a fucking truck. Her base values are broken. There's just too much going on. And then, like dGon already mentioned, she's a multi-flex pick. She can go 80, support, mid, and top. So Karma's pretty fucking interesting because I feel like I can comment on this because the T1 scrims, right? We played a metric fuck ton of Karma in 3 different roles, right? And one of the interesting things, too, is the T1 Academy players, at the very beginning, they weren't playing Karma. But by day 3, 4, and 5, they start B1ing Karma. They start banning Karma. They start prioritizing Karma. And then like even in like feedback, they start complaining about Karma, right? As like a necessity. So they start with like Nautilus, Leona, fucking Braum, and like other support champions. And then by day 3, 4, and 5, it's Enchanter v Enchanter, like Karma multi-flex, going everywhere because she's just too fucking stupid. So I don't think he needs to play another champion. I think the Karma pick is totally fine. She's either even or winning versus almost every match in the game right now. She's a great neutralizer. Yeah, especially mid. It's impossible to move her in mid, right? So she does what you want her to do. If she gets ahead, she's really oppressive. She accelerates abnormally fast due to the simple costs of her items. Her recipe component items are fucking broken because Forbidden Idol is just nuts for 800 gold. It's one of the best recipe items in the game. So Karma's nuts. But the issue is that if the carries are behind or if the team's behind, Karma's going to look dog. Right? She doesn't have that wow factor. When Karma does win, again, really fucking hard to see Karma's input. It's really like Gangplank. But if we have like losers interviews, and you ask the losing team what they felt from the enemy champions, like Gangplank or Karma or like these other champions, you'd get a lot more insight into what's actually happening in the game, but isn't like readily apparent on screen to a spectator who might not see what's really going on or like what sort of things these champions are controlling or restricting from the opponents.
Yeah. And then one thing I want to add here is that it also is specifically good into Rumble, which is what they were picking it into in these games, because like essentially her Mantra Shield just counters Rumble ult. Where like if Rumble doesn't have like a really insane setup, because a lot of people are just playing Rumble as an OP jungler because it's just broken. But like there's ways you can optimize Rumble, right? Like you play things like Kiana, if Kiana is good in certain situations, Gnar, you play pretty much engage tools that are going to keep people in place for the Rumble ult. A lot of people don't have these. So if you have Karma and the enemy team doesn't have these tools, like number one, it just makes it harder because they can't just like ult for free. They have to like use their extra tools in order to set up the Rumble ult. But number two, like all those like random pick ults that Rumble can do are just Mantra shielded away. So I mean, I just feel like these are the times where he's picking it. I mean, he's just picking it into Rumble pretty much every time. Like, did they play into Rumble all 3 games? I know they played into at least like 2 of them, right? So might have been all 3 games that they played it into Rumble. So it could be just a situational counter to the champion.
Thank you for the breakdown on the Karma pick, just because that was such it was a strong reaction from multiple levels of the industry, from the community, whether it was fans, whether it was other coaches, whether it was the casters. Yeah. And so look at that, Coach Reaper on something and willing to double down on what their scrim results proved, and leads to a 2-1 record, putting them solidly in 3rd place. Tied with, it's time, y'all. It's time to talk about one of our favorite players historically here on Facecheck. It's not keeping an eye out, but it's time for the watch. The watch has returned. Soligo Watch and the rest of Dignitas are on point here. A lot of the community saying, hey, look, Joshy Boy and Afromoo, obviously anchors of this roster, but Fake God and Soligo stepped up, at least in games 1 and 2. Picking the Akali straight into.
I mean, they're playing better than most of the teams in the league.
Being like, hey, look, I know you're a carry top laner, but
this is what it is.
So am I.
Anyways,
someone really doesn't like Soligo. And
no. I mean, I'm fine with Soligo. Like, I think Soligo's like okay, but I mean, I just think that Dig is like an okay team. They should be like a bottom middle of the pack team, and they should just be used as like a metric for like how good the league is. That's honestly how I see it.
Still though, at what point are we gonna put them into the echelon with other teams? What
echelon do you want to put them in? The TSM, 100 Thieves, TL, C9?
Like, who's your top team right now? It'd be like TSM, right? TSM.
I mean, I
I
would
would
still
still
think
say
that
it's
like
Cloud9.
C9. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't care that much about week 1. Like, I know everyone wants to just lose their shit over week 1, but like TSM still looks like TSM. Like Cloud9 played under the level that they played at, but they're like, I mean, it's just Cloud9, right? Like they're going to get better over the course of the split because they came back from MSI, shit hit the fan, they had to replace a player, like they didn't scrim much. Now they're like getting into it. They also are known for having the mentality that they're going to try to level up throughout the split. And when they get to the actual like finals, when they got to like playoffs, they figured out what they wanted to play and they were like good at a style. And when I think that Cloud9 does that, I don't see a world where Dignitas is better than Cloud9.
Completely agree with Dom. I also don't really care about week 1. I don't care about month 1, year 1, decade 1, and that's why I think CLG is still on top.
Nice. You actually still agree with me that Cloud9 is a better team than TSM, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I would say the
memed it too
category
hard.
I would put them in. Yeah, it was a hard meme. The category I would put them in would be the contenders, right? The next step, the ones that can challenge Cloud9 and Team Liquid since TL made it to the finals.
I
would
can't
say
see a world where Dignitas can win a best of 5 in playoffs against either of those teams. Like, I would lose my shit if that happened. I'll shave my fucking head if that happens. Like, there's no way that happens.
Heard it here first. It will be a bald check.
I'll shave LS's head if that happens. How about that?
We'll fly over, do the quarantine. We'll film it with LS's crew. It'll be LS's hair as well. No confirmation. Nothing else.
Nothing. I got nothing on that one.
All right. So I just wanted to check in because again, community supporting, rallying around the fake god and around Dignitas. Again, Joshy Boy picking up was it Darius in game number 3 this week. Didn't win, but willing to challenge the meta and see, just make the opponents think, right? You have a ton of games, they're making it to playoffs, and now you got to make the opponents think, well, you did play that one game, and it might free up some draft usage there in the future for him. LS, thoughts on that? Heard you.
I mean, I think. I wait. Hold on. 1 second. I'm so sorry. Wait. No. Hold on. This is making noise. 1 second. I'm sorry. Oh my god.
We're not hearing the noise.
In his head.
Everyone wait.
He's lost it. He's watched too much NA. Happens
Yeah,
to the
don't
best
move.
of us.
Yeah, he didn't get the LPL refresh like you did.
Yeah, it's like crazy. It's just so much better. Like Suning literally is like 7th place team from last split.
Dude, that was
Probably-
scary.
What happened?
Everything in the bathroom just turned on by itself.
It's just probably a ghost. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
All right. No big deal. No big deal. All right.
Lost sanity.
Wait, what, the question again?
What was the game? Phasmophobia? That was your health bar. It was sanity, right? The draft pool for
Don't
Dardoch
starve.
creating issues in the future. Don't starve. Yeah, don't starve too.
Yeah.
The drafting for Dardoch? Issues in the future?
The draft pool creating issues against them because he just plays everything under the sun and willing to play anything under the sun.
Do you mean as an advantage?
As an
Right? I'm
advantage,
not like
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, as an
Am I
advantage.
misunderstanding this? Okay. No, I mean, I think him being able to play whatever is obviously really, really nice. But I mean, jungle, I would say is probably the role that has the least flex potency compared to like mid-top support, right?
Yeah,
I think
you'd
probably...
rather have a top laner that could do that, to be honest.
Yes. So I think that while it is definitely really good, the level of impact is, I think, way less than if like your mid or top or support or something could do it. I think that's where you get more upside. But it is definitely advantageous to be able to deviate from the jungle norm, because I don't think the jungle meta has ever really been what it's been for the last couple of months, because players just get stuck on certain champs and they never try to deviate. I mean, now we're starting to see like Jin Zhao. I mean, Rumble entered. Everyone's given up on Morgana. Makes literally no sense.
You don't
Fiddle.
think the nerfs were significant enough?
No. Oh, so well, we wondered if it was right, but we kept playing her. So the patch went live in Korea for like days 3 through 5. We just kept playing. I mean, her clear is like almost the same speed, so it's pretty fine, right? You still get access to Morgana, but I think where Morgana's big strength comes in is if you're willing to move her to support, right? And I don't think anyone's willing to do that. So in that sense, you could still pick her early draft phase and then pivot her support if you want more upside. But no one's doing stuff like that. They'll never play more support.
Yep. What? I don't know. I just can't see a world where this team places top 4. But I mean, I think that like even without placing top 4, it's an overperformance, right? If this team places 5th, 6th, they've outperformed what their expectations were. Like coming into the season, like they were supposed to be like 8th or something, maybe 7th, depending on how bad you thought CLG was going to be. Certainly people had EG and FlyQuest over them when they saw these rosters. So
Yep.
I think that Dig will probably end up being like a 5th, 6th place team. Like they were last split, get 3-0'd in playoffs, like, you know, and that is like good enough. I mean, it's not a roster that is like meant to have wild success at LCS. Like it's completely a budget roster. So yeah, I mean, I think that they're overperforming expectations. I just don't see a world where they actually like they don't have. It feels like the way that they win games. Like they did have that one Rumble game this week where they won early game pretty hard enough, but it feels like it's just like Dardoch is smart. He finds like good ganks and he has good pathing early. Yep. And if he's able to get ahead for himself, then generally the team has decent enough team fighting to like win 5v5 situations. The problem that I see is I don't feel like this team has like any macro. I never see them outsmart the enemy team. It feels like they'll just let the enemy team like start a Baron or something like that, and they'll just outfight them because they'll call better targets or they'll just be able to identify who's like fucking up in the situation. They can capitalize on that type of stuff. But they, like, I feel like to win a championship, you need to have like some systems in place that allow you to like win games with your advantages without the enemy team like having a chance to do anything. Like you are the one that are forcing the errors consistently. And like when you watch, like for example, I mean, if anyone watched my LPL co-stream today, an example of this would be like Suning, right? When Suning plays the TF comp, you can tell that they have identified like how to use TF in situations where they are winning ahead or behind to get advantages through like pairing the TF with the top laner and like playing that together, or like using the TF ulti to draw people to one location and then push another one. Like those types of teams that are able to do that type of stuff have a way better chance of going far in competition than teams that are just relying on outfighting, because at some point, like you're not just going to outfight teams all the time, and you're going to actually have to make better decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that stands out in my mind, I mean, I was watching Dardoch's Pro View, right? The Rumble game. It's right before the Cloud Soul. You can just, the other 4 players, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this would be my speculation from watching the Pro View. Dardoch seems adamant to just get the Cloud Soul, right? And actually pushing the mid inhibitor turret and the inhibitor is an incorrect play. But the other 4 players seem like they want to do it. When I watch that Pro View and I see how much he's clicking back and forth, looking at them, looking at the dragon, looking at them, looking at the dragon, it seems like he's cognizant of it. And the other 4 are just fucking brains turned off. So when I see something like that's an insight for me that I think is intent. That's like literally the fucking bona fide, just best example of intent. Their intent there is completely fucking absent-minded. And it's such an egregious decision when you rewatch the clip or you just see their posturing and their dancing and like what they're trying to do, that it makes me feel like they're just so disjointed from actual fundamental like league macro knowledge.
I mean, it even happens early game, right? Like if you think about the Darius game, they got an early gank off.
God, in the red jungle.
Well, I was going to just talk about even before that. So the red jungle was bad. But before the red jungle, an issue I had was like they're not even just doing basic stuff. Like you have to be talking about TPs when you're going for a repeat gank bot side, especially if you're pushing past the minion wave, right? Like, so they're in a situation where their mid got ganked. Soligo TP is mid. They know the enemy team has double TP, and they just opt into like a 4v5 bot lane. They just go for like some ridiculous gank, and they all die. They lose their entire advantage that they had. And suddenly the game just feels super doomed. Gwen gets 2 kills. Now Gwen is just a monster topside. Like, I feel like this type of stuff is really problematic. Like, they just don't they don't have solid enough fundamentals where they're checking off all the boxes. Like identifying what is going to happen to them if they go for a play and making sure that they can respond adequately. And if they can't respond adequately, like having restraint and not going for the play. I don't see any of that with the team.
It does feel like they do it and it works out. And what this team does is they just ask a lot of questions, right? They don't ask questions knowing what the answers could be. They just ask a lot of questions. And a lot of the times when they win, it's because the other team just doesn't have an answer enough times in a row. Like that's one thing that I think Dignitas is willing to do. Very Perkz-esque, Cloud9-esque of like, just keep fighting and keep asking for questions and keep seeing if you can catch the other team off guard. And if that advantage happens, then you have one of the most explosive junglers and most explosive engaged supports in the game in Afromu to hit the go button and let the youngins do their thing. So this Dignitas roster just wanted to hit on it because they had a pretty good week going 2-1. They were 2-0 until that final game in 100 Thieves, the doomed double gank on the bottom side of the map, which then leads us to the other team that had a hell of a week after one of their players got clapped into the social media grave. It brings us to our tweet of the week. I guess one of our tweets of the week. And it comes from our boy, Revenge, the doctor in the top side of the map. He was playing up against Solo, who replaced him in FlyQuest and decided to get a little mouthy. And Solo, surprisingly, did not really say too much about this specific matchup. After Golden Guardians defeated Cloud9, Solo pops in and says, I leave y'all for one split. You let these dudes win.
He let them win too when he was
which is kind of funny. Joe's freaking out. It's the picture after this one, Joe. It's the message. It's the text message back and forth. Yeah, that was a nice try. You had it, Joe. Revenge said, good morning. Time to show how dumb FlyQuest was for using Solo LCS instead of me. Last year in LCS, again, Revenge was the Academy. Top laner for FlyQuest last year. Curry, now coaching over at TSM, hits him with the XD. Mo takes the bait saying, you're so mad. And Curry just buries him. You think I'm mad about making back-to-back finals and going to Worlds while you got 10th place in Academy? It was the greatest smack talk of the week by far. It was great. Solos was awesome, but then this was another level.
I mean, stuff like this pisses me off a lot because, again, I don't know. I feel like regardless of if this is memeing and banter, it just looks worse on Revenge, right? But the reality is like Curry's whole career starts how many years ago, right? If you go and look at it, he went like 9-9 in NA Academy when Clutch Gaming and I think Optic were still in the league and their players were literally playing on remote setups and had the most dysfunctional stuff in the world, right? D-Lim was also a part of the FlyQuest roster that did the same thing Curry's doing, now teamless. And now he's on TSM again, and TSM has one of the most, I guess, one of the better rosters in the league, and they're winning
rosters. Yeah.
FlyQuest did go to Worlds. Yeah, that was, I mean, there was there, right? Power of Evil was still the mid laner, and then FlyQuest managed to go 3-3 in a group, taking one game off TES, and then beating Unicorns of Love in the easiest group in Worlds. Yeah. It means a lot, right? Like, I just, man, I fucking hate these comments, man. Like, what does it really say? What does anything say?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, dude, you're an assistant coach. Like,
it's not even that. It's no one knows actually what you do. But there are other people that were on the same roster that you did that are now either teamless or on Evil Geniuses, right? Like, what? Like, so, like, what is there to say? I mean, there's plenty of people. I mean, dude, it's so gross. I don't know, man. It's so gross.
Yeah, I mean,
the banter
is just pure banter.
Yeah, but I don't care if it's pure banter because this is the type of bullshit that fucking facilitates and enables these types of results-based arguments in the scene. You know?
Yeah, but he did go to back-to-back finals.
Yeah, that's really cool. Coma won 3 world championships, went to China, failed to make playoffs and do anything notable, came right back to Korea and then won LCK. What's going on? Yeah, right. Now, I'm not saying, okay, I'm using Coma because he's like the iconic example, right? However, Coma, someone I've historically defended for years on end because there's too many players that go in and out of his orbit that say stuff, right? But that's just an iconic example. I fucking hate shit like this, man. There's no public. There's nothing. I can't. I gotta stop talking on this.
All right.
This topic.
Now
LS.
I just want to trigger LS now. I just want to trigger LS as much as possible.
Here
Like,
is this.
I mean, LS.
Oh,
Like,
it pisses
are
me
you
off
sh-
because this just looks really bad for a player, and I don't care if it's fucking banter. This reply is just nonsense. But the fact is that I would say that 90 out of 100 people would actually think his reply is genuine or a legitimate argument.
I think
That's a problem. This is one of the actual fundamental foundational problems of esports. That's why I hate this reply.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's like, it depends. Like, if you're in the scene, I think that you take it more lightheartedly. I'd say for like average fans, I mean, there's no limit to the stupidity that you'll see, right? So, I mean, I think a lot of people will actually like there are going to be people that take this as like, damn, Revenge was like pretty shit last year. Like,
But it
got 10th
wasn't.
place. Yeah, he wasn't shit. He was probably the best part of that roster.
I mean, it's fucking. It's just I don't know. I mean, it's.
it is what it is. The banter looking to ratchet it up and get everyone fired up about LCS did exactly that. But let's focus on Immortals' 3-0 weekend. They were able to take down multiple different teams in upset fashion. I think some of them unexpected as they defeated 100 Thieves, and then they took down the bottom feeders in Golden Guardians and CLG. Coach Gohoto feels like he's on something here with Xerxes, Revenge, Insanity, Raze, and Destiny. Raze and Destiny looked better than what I remember them looking in the spring split. It
Destiny
felt like
looked a lot better. I feel like Raze, like that Jinx game really triggered me because I feel like it's such a massive advantage. Like you get 10 plates. It's like the Jizuke thing, right? If your team gives you that much of an advantage, like just carry the game easily. Just like run away with that shit. That's what I want to see like on stage. Like in solo queue, I'm fine for you to limit test and like do whatever. But like if you get 10 plates as a Jinx, like don't give your shutdown 1v1 to like the enemy top laner. Like don't do that shit. Just like 1v9 the entire game. Just make that shit like a 20-minute game. Like that's what I want to say. I think Destiny actually played pretty well this week. And like overall this week, I think that Immortals probably played at the best level out of all these teams. But like I don't know. I already said that I don't really care that much about this week, but overall I'd say that Immortals at least is trending upwards, which I think is good for a team like that. Like they look like they are going to probably hit a higher mark than they were expected to hit, which like they should be 9th or 10th, right? It should be like 10th place Golden Guardians, 9th place Immortals if we went based off pure rosters and like who's on these teams. And it looks like they're probably going to be competing for like a 6th place maybe. So I think that's like, I think that's, you know, it's commendable, and I think they played a good week. And I think that they do have legitimate like talent on their team, like mainly Revenge. I mean, he had a pretty bad Viego game. I mean, it was mainly just that one play where like he got screwed the most. It's hard to know how those plays actually happen where like people are pushing behind the wave. You don't know if people are not communicating their TPs. You don't know if Xerxes is the one that's calling for it or if Revenge is calling for it. You don't know whose fault it is, but Revenge ended up screwed and ended up looking bad for a long period in that game because of it. But overall, I thought he was like pretty active in the first 2 set games, making things happen. And he looks like he like isn't scared to play the way that he should play on stage, and that level of confidence I think is commendable. So I've actually been pretty impressed with Revenge. I think he's been definitely exceeding expectations heavily, and I think he's one of like the driving factors behind why this team is starting to look better and better.
high praise coming from Dom. LS, what do you think makes his team go?
I mean, I think Immortals, the most important thing, right, is how they manage to round out their middle of the pack stuff. I will say that like unfortunately due to scheduling, like Immortals games I might not always get to see them if they end up playing last. So some of the stuff that, you know, I might say is not always the most apt. But yeah, I mean, I think last split or spring, if you want to call it, because now they're the same thing, right? The bot lane needed to perform a lot better, or it needed to live up to more things, right? I think Revenge has been playing. I think if you look at Revenge's pro view, then there's definitely good things there. But again, there's going to be only probably a few people that like actually look at the pro view and then other stuff. So I think in that regard, it's probably fine. I think that if Immortals is willing to deviate from standard or traditional like meta, we're going to use quotation marks, meta type stuff, then it probably also helps them have an edge over middle of the pack in NA. But I don't think there's anything there that manages to allow you to break into the top 3. I don't think it's in the cards.
Hell no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Dig, but like that to me like isn't the metric. The reason why I'm so down on Dig is because I feel like people are consistently trying to put them in that like higher tier just based off record alone. And if you look at like what's actually going on in the games, you can tell that this is just not a team that, barring like massive improvements, like if this team suddenly understands, like becomes RNG around Barons and they understand exactly what they need to do, who's gonna turn, who hits it, who tanks, who does damage, like if they're able to like figure all that shit out, they set up dragons well, they make good decisions, they know when they can fight dragons, when they should cross map. If they like somehow understand all these teams, I think that their players aren't too bad to like win LCS. I just don't see enough improvement from week 1 of spring until now to tell me that they're gonna suddenly grasp these concepts. So I mean, I just think like it's like Dig and Immortals I see kind of similarly, where I think they're both exceeding expectations. If either of them end up placing higher than EG, that's like massive if you consider the rosters that they're having to deal with. So I feel like they should be like probably like, you know, EG, Dig, Immortals. I'm looking at that as like the 5th through 7th part of LCS.
Which leads us to our last team of the day that we're going to hit on. EG, man. You tweeted out, Dom. I saw you hit it. You're in the Jojo Pune waiting room as EG hit a big fat 0-3. Unfortunate for that squad. How, you know, just darn. If only, you know, like, man, that was... They got Jojo Pune, though. So Jojo Pune is their academy mid laner. I had the chance to interview him when I covered that. Danny looked good. He looked good. He looked a lot
fucking better than Deftly did. Like he probably autoed more times.
Definitely gone.
He autoed more times in those 3 games than Deftly did in an entire split.
Impossible. That is not true. Oh, he wasn't able to. That is not a fact. All right, well, I'll fact check it later. EG, they go 0-3. A lot of it on the back of Jizuke, but some of it also on Impact 2. Getting bodied by Licorice in the top lane. It was the set Wukong matchup, and that allowed Licorice to return to Cloud9 form. What's EG got to do to fix this? Is it just a straight like, hey, Jizuke, like this was a tails coin flip and Peter Dunge just got to live with it, or what's the play?
You can go first if you want, LS.
I mean, EG should have won some of their games. I mean, not even just now, but like even earlier on in the split. But then they just completely just turn off. I mean, it reminds me of the macro thing with Dignitas, right? With the Dardoch Pro View that I mentioned earlier. But then EG also does this thing where they're doing the brain off Herald rotation stuff still. So it's clearly like intent because it happens so often, right? It feels like it's a trained thing and they just sort of go along for the ride. I just feel like on anything map related or macro related, it's just going to be a crapshoot, but that their players feel like their roster is more stacked than basically any of the teams below them. So it's pretty hard to really lose. But when they do lose, it's always due to decision making. Always. Like just in their games, whenever they have leads or anything like that.
I mean, this dude Jizuke just running it down. I guess that's
Jizuke is he's not a very good player. I mean, fortunately ProView is here now, so people can see that. It's not a dice roll, right? I mean, this is what I was thinking about after the series yesterday, right? I was talking to Lemon, and when people use the term coin flip or dice roll when it comes to Jizuke, I mean, I think it's just funny. The thing that in my head I liken it to is when you're up against a really bad player in lane, whether it be like mid or top, right? Like imagine you're up against a really bad Katarina or you're up against like a really bad Echo or Talon or something, right? You're fucking bodying them in CS, you're up EXP, you have the lane in a good spot, and then they roam bot and just randomly get 2 kills. And you're so angry because that player just has like stuff he shouldn't have, like relative to how he was playing in the game, and then he just ends up winning or something like that.
It's like
just
the Katarina that gets absolutely bodied in lane, then roams bot, gets 2 kills that you've pinged a million times and comes back mid and suddenly can fight you.
It's like losing to that player. Yes, like coin flipping shouldn't be something that's seen as good. If you still frame a lot of stuff that he does in isolation, it's really fucking bad. It's really, really, really bad. It doesn't stop becoming bad because it works or the other player was worse in isolation. It's still just bad. So sometimes he ends up getting ahead. And when you get ahead in modern day League of Legends, it's pretty hard to blow the fucking lead. It's really, really, really hard. Doesn't matter who you're up against, unless like there's a dynamic of the matchup. Like I guess Aurelia can like salvage a matchup, right? If she fucking hits E and she has full build, aka Vamp Scepter. There's a few champions that can still salvage a lane if they fall behind, but generally it's not the case. So as soon as you actually do like a high variance thing, and if you get an edge, then you ride it. Doesn't mean that you're playing well. Doesn't mean that you played well to even get the advantage. But most people aren't going to see it that way.
I mean, I think the biggest problem is like the way that EG plays is reliant on him. Like he gets the most resources on the team, like, and he just can't carry his leads at all. Like there's times where in games, like he'll be playing Tristana, right? He has the he'll like, not only do they swap lanes so that he gets a positive like situation, he gets all the plating. They drop Herald in his lane. He roll swaps mid. He gets like 2 full turrets worth of plates. He is PD, Kraken Slayer, and upgraded boots at 14 minutes, and he still throws the entire game. Where it's like, if you're getting that many resources, like you need to have some level of control, like some level of like consistency, some level of like ability to like some level of restraint where you can understand, like, I am the one that like cannot die in these situations. Or like, if I do die, they have to work for it. Like if they suicide 3 people into me in a fight to kill me, that's fine. He doesn't make people work for it. Like he's literally putting himself forcefully in spots where he has to like go 1-for-1 in order to, where like the 1-for-1 will be auto losing every time. And like 1-for-1 is the best possible situation or the best possible outcome of the situation that he puts himself in. So like, I'm just so tired of watching like how he plays, because he ints so many times that for a veteran player like him, it just feels like he's never going to get it. There's never going to be a point where it just clicks and suddenly he's like a consistent carry that when he's ahead is just going to run away with the game. You know, like you see that out of the top tier mid laners in LCS, right? Like somebody like Power of Evil, if he has a big lead, it's very rare that he's going to throw the entire game. It's almost never that he's going to do that, right? When Perkz has a gigantic lead, he's more like, he'll int sometimes, but he'll almost never int so badly with a massive lead that'll lose you the game. Maybe he'll int from an even point. Yeah, I mean, maybe he'll int from an even point to like the point where he'll lose you the game. But he'll never be that fucking ahead. He'll never be Kraken Slayer PD at 14 minutes and lose that game in LCS domestically. Like that's never happening. So to me, it's like, and yeah, I mean, like Jensen is the same way, right? Like I don't see Jensen throwing this type of level of lead. So like he's somebody who honestly at this point, like EG needs to just stop playing around him, because I have more faith in anyone else on that roster.
Impact,
Danny, anyone else on that roster getting the resources. And like, I feel like because he has like a high potential level when things go well, or like he has really specific matchups that he can play, and he has like a lot of picks that are unique to him that he has a level of understanding on that other people don't. Like because he can get ahead in that way, he like has this quality where people want him to be the star of the team, but he's just nowhere close to consistent enough to ever have this be a reality. And EG just gets screwed by him nonstop.
That's EG. And that is our other 0-3 squad for the day, along with Golden Guardians, or for the week. Not Golden Guardians, CLG. Sorry, I was just so used to saying that because they only have 4 wins. Golden Guardians got their win against Cloud9. Solo came in, nard people in the wall, talk shit. It was great. CLG, we already kind of hit on their issues, indexing on the personalities of the squad. Not the case here for CLG. I think that does it. We hit on all of our we didn't hit on 2-1 FlyQuest here. Quick thoughts here, LS, on FlyQuest's weekend, based on how much you were able to see of their matches.
I mean, I don't really know what to.
Then that's fine.
What to think of. I don't really know what to think of FlyQuest. I'm so sorry.
Dom.
I like their logo. Their logo's great. By the
Logo's
way.
great. It's a great logo. I've heard.
It's a great logo, guys.
I've heard it was
It's a really
great.
good
A lot of
logo.
people have been saying it's a great logo.
Love it. Love it. Great logo.
I don't even like talking about FlyQuest because I feel bad watching them because I feel like when you look at that roster, they have enough potential. Like all of the players in isolation, you would think would be pretty good if you got to see them play in solo queue. You got to watch their streams. You can tell that these players have individual talent, but there's no idea. I feel like all these players are almost like rookies where they have no idea how to play competitive games. So it's really weird because I always thought that Licorice, when you saw him with Cloud9 in the early days, I felt like he had a very the reason why I thought he was such a good rookie in 2018 was it seemed like he had a very good idea of him knowing what he should be doing, knowing when to split, what wave he could push, when he could move off the wave, whether he was strong enough to potentially dive the person on the turret, whether he was strong enough or whether he was fast enough to join the team for a team fight, whether he had a TP timer. I felt like he had all these things checked off from the limited amount of information that we had, voice comms and all that type of stuff. And I just feel like he now I just don't get that sense from him that he really knows what he should be doing in the game. It feels like he's kind of just almost a follower. So now you're just in a situation where I don't think that this team has anyone that is confident enough in their own knowledge to communicate what needs to be done in game to fill in the gaps for the players that don't know what's going to happen. So it just feels like they never have any plan ever.
So, I mean, all right, there's a couple of things on FlyQuest. One, I think Licorice is an example of an aged player in esports where the things that he did to initially break out onto the scene and made him good, he no longer does. Just
play
an
solo
assumption,
queue?
right? Well, I mean, not just that, right? I mean, also the champions that he seems to have an affinity for. But I think that has really just been a lost touch in the way that he's progressed over time. But I mean, I think I don't know. Usually when a player starts to decline for a long period of time, there's usually no way that they come back. I think. The other thing is Jose Dioto has a lot of hype around him. I thought positively of him coming into 2021, right? Watching the pro view, I didn't feel as good. I ended up switching over, I think, to Dardoch, right? I joked about losers queue, winners queue. When I made the swap.
Dardoch murdered him.
Yeah, Dardoch completely murdered him. But I mean, there was a lot of other stuff. And then Palafox gets a lot of hype because of his Korean solo queue trips, where he comes to Korean solo queue and he gets really high. I want to comment on. I feel like people when they cite his Korean solo queue LP, right? They don't actually talk about what he's doing when he gets that LP. If you watch him play solo queue and he gets the LP, it is a good accomplishment to get that LP, and it means that you have mechanical ability and all this other good stuff. It's really different from, say, someone I don't know, I'll just list two players that generally play pretty honest solo queue, but Faker or Nemesis, right? Immediately come to mind when it comes to honest solo queue. Palafox will move to every fight. He'll roam to everything. He'll roam a lot. He'll push waves endlessly. There's not a lot of cerebral gameplay there. When you're in LCS, the game has to be more cerebral because everyone's on the same page. There's more coordination. There's more communication, and whatever, right? So when he's forced to play honest, when he's forced to play honest League of Legends, he's not very good at it. I mean, that's literally the whole issue. He's bad at honest League. And that's a really hard thing to change or magically become better at.
I think also he has. I mean, he's one of those people that he plays also good champions for solo queue. His best champions are melee carries and stuff mid, Silas and stuff like that. Yeah. And those types of champions just succeed in they just succeed in a solo queue environment. So I feel that's also something that should be said. He's somebody that can play other champions at a challenger level or a high level.
Dude.
But he's not going to progress on them. There's a difference between when, for example, when I'm climbing and I play Udyr and Hecarim and I get to a certain LP and then I start playing Lilia and I'm playing Lilia in high elo, but I'm 50% win rate on it. It's that's not what's actually making me climb. It's just something that I can play sometimes. That's how I feel about his Orianna, his Zoe, all that other stuff. It's stuff that's serviceable, but it's not stuff that he's going to actually progress and win your team games on it.
Right. I mean, okay, so a lot of people in chat right now are like memeing the Nemesis thing, right? People are like memeing it. Okay, the reason that I bring up Nemesis is because I think that people that play like him. So Chovy's the best example, right? I mean, Chovy's known for his Aurelia and whatnot, right? But Chovy's known for honest League of Legends, insanely high CS per minute averages. He doesn't sin, doesn't take a lot of gambles, puts people in situations where it's like always just a neutral positive. So it's either you're going to die or he's just going to get a natural edge anyway, right? Someone like Faker. Faker has been outwardly spoken about how solo queue for him has... I mean, you just watch it, right? He tries to play honest, whereas most people that get really, really high LP, they're constantly fighting, constantly roaming, doing all this other stuff inside the solo queue, right? And now Faker is... One of the talking points is that Faker's like climbing a lot right now in solo queue. And you go and look at the champions that he's playing. And, you know, I mean, that's the thing that you can look at. But I think it's more impressive to climb to high MMRs and not constantly roam and play control champions and all this other stuff, because I think it suggests a higher awareness of the game rather than just relying on high variance and then like constantly outplaying.
Absolutely. There's so many like tactics you can use in order to like climb high ranks that are like dishonest. So for example, as a jungler, one of the biggest ones is level 1 invading, right?
Yes.
Like you just level 1 invade, like when people don't expect it because people aren't coordinated, some people are AFK, whatever, you get a massive advantage and then you just run away with the game because you're so far ahead from something that like isn't actually like an even situation. You're not actually outplaying your opponent that heavily. You're mainly just doing something that isn't expected. So you're like cheesing essentially.
Right.
So I mean,
I think it would be insane, right? Imagine you have a 1000 LP Sejuani jungle player, or you have a 1000 LP Elise player. Mm-hmm. That Sejuani is fucking insane. That champion is just like, you're not supposed to win in solo queue. So if the Sejuani is doing stuff, that Sejuani is just built different. Yeah. Something is like going on there. So like that's something that I feel like in the community, it's never talked about. People never talk about the ways that people climb or like how people play, because a lot of people, they don't realize, I mean, Faker, still one of the best mid laners in the world, right? Still top 3. You know, some people argue top 4 in LCK, right? Faker very often is known for hovering 300 to 100 LP in Korean solo queue. Yeah, he's still one of the best, right? Solo queue, especially in Korea. I mean, Nemesis talked about this in one of his vlog videos, and other Korean solo queue players have talked about it as well. Dishonesty is rewarded more than honesty.
Oh, for
It's just like the nature. It's just the nature of it.
Solo queue, like this is my perception of solo queue, is like solo queue is about whoever's looking at their map more. Like, because fucked up shit is happening. Like people are in your terms sitting all over the place, and it's literally just about punishing the people that are sitting more than like. Yeah. Like setting up, like, dude, that's like why when you see all these really high solo queue players like FlyQuest, ties right back into FlyQuest. When you put them all on a team, you can see that they don't actually know how to win controlled games of League of Legends. They didn't get their LP by like buying pink wards and like going to Dragon and trapping certain brushes and like understanding like who's gonna flank, what angles they're gonna flank from, like who can deal damage, like where people can stand, like all the different options that are available to them. They don't know how to do that. They know how to punish the people that are inting. So if a team that they play against is really bad and random people are getting caught or doing things they can't, they can be flashing and like hit their skill shots. Like Jose Dioto can see somebody walking into an area that he shouldn't be walking into when he has vision on Italy, throw a spear and one-shot the guy. That's not the issue. The problem is like when you put all these players together and there's no one that actually can like teach the players what these setups are and like give them like perspective on all the different possibilities that are available to you in these situations, then you're just like capped. Like if these players can't come up with it themselves, the coach can't teach it to them, and they don't have players on their team that are going to explain these types of things to them, then they're just not going to be that good, which is part of the reason why I have so much respect for Perkz. And when you hear players on Perkz' team talk about him, so for example, King in interviews, he's like, oh, I'm learning so much from this guy because he didn't understand all the possibilities that were available to him, right? Like he was the type of player where he was basing and by default running bot after every base. Like he needed somebody to tell him like, hey, like this is a base where like this is a timing where you should be walking mid and we can like force a fight off this, or like this is a timing like where you have a window to move. And like as somebody who has multi-role experience, part of the reason why he was successful in multiple roles is because he has that understanding of the game. So like That's the type of shit. That's the problem with FlyQuest is I just don't see them ever figuring that shit out because I don't think anyone on that roster or coaching staff like can impart that knowledge on them.
I love that.
Yeah.
To be honest, I was one of those guys that was like, hey, like, again, I've been told for many years now he's the next coming of NA mid laners, and I just, you know, you would see I would look up the LP, you look up the rank, it's like, yeah, he's always up there, but diving into that conversation of dirty, was it honest and dishonest solo queue is that was fascinating. So thanks, guys, and I think that's a pretty good button to hit things off of here of week number 1. We hit on all the gameplay that happened. Was there anything else that we needed to hit on in terms of the LCS? I think that was it.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. Hey, everyone, thank you for tuning in today. Dom, what do you have this week for people to follow along with?
Be doing 4 LPL co-streams. So I'm going to be doing eight best of 3s per week. So it's going to be Monday,
Nice.
Tuesday, and Friday, Saturday. And then I'll be doing LEC, Live View, LCS co-stream, the Crackdown on Wednesdays. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, welcome to the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
LS, what do you got?
I have LCK co-streams every day. But I don't know. Last split, doing it all super full time, finally took its toll on me because it was different from casting. So in 2020, I casted LCK. And there was something different about that because it was understandable that I couldn't do every single day. But like this past time I did every single day. And it did affect me. It did. I mean, stuff starts to happen. I mean, I'm curious to see if, you know, stuff will start happening to Dom. Like, you might get tired of seeing the same thing over and over and over and over, right? Or you might get frustrated seeing one thing in LPL and never seeing it in another region.
Oh, but I mean, I already have that problem. I mean, I think that literally.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna.
Well, I think my LCS co-streams have just gotten worse because like I'm so frustrated by what I'm seeing that it's like really hard to be entertaining. Like when I see that Nexus dive, Fountain dive from EG, like it bothers me so much that I can't even like get into like the mode of like, oh, I gotta entertain now. Like, oh shit, what the fuck happened? Oh my god, they're gonna lose. Like pretend like I didn't, like I just put myself in the situation. I'm like, oh my god, if I was in this game and I was in the EG right now, I would be so tilted, and it literally just like affects me.
Well, one of the things that I mean, I guess I don't mean to like alienate people, but like LCK I don't know how your LPL co-stream was, but LCK co-streams, the chat is always so nice.
Yeah,
always
same
so
thing
nice.
with LPL.
Because the people that stay up to watch LCK or LPL they care about the diehard, like, what are the best players doing? Like, they really just care what is going on. That's that demographic, right? When I was 12, 13, 14, setting alarms for OGN to wake up and watch the best StarCraft players, that's what I care about. I don't want to watch like the preliminaries or like the qualifiers and like all this other stuff, right? That might have lower stuff. So LCK co-streams are always, the chat's always like pretty insane. And then LEC, it's sort of the same thing, but like on LCS, you have to deal with like the chat hoppers. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
like the people that are trying to cause drama between all the watch party people.
Hey, so-and-so said X.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Doublelift just said this on his stream.
Well, but the thing is,
or
they
like-
always just say things that it didn't happen. So like, it was like the whole Xerath thing, right? Where I was like, oh, I think like Xerath like is like pretty good here, and like we came to like an understanding when we were talking about it that it's like you like conceptually you like Xerath, you just thought that Xerath was like a weak champion on this patch, like he's just weak, right? Which is a completely different argument than like this draft sucks because the champion doesn't make sense in the context of like what is being picked, you know? So they try to make it seem like one of you has to be stupid because you don't have any understanding of what the game is. That's what they try to make it seem.
Yep. And it's also really weird because it feels like NA viewers don't watch other regions. And so when you say that like NA is objectively just doing things worse, right? Or they could be doing better, they take it like almost personally, like it's a bubble pop. And
It's because they were one of the many that made the LCS.
I don't know. It kind of sucks. I mean,
Somehow they're more biased. They're more biased to LCS than both of us that have worked in the LCS. That's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But they also, I feel like they mistake criticism that is meant to like constantly be echoed as something that should eventually be helpful, right? As like an attack, but it's not that, and it's really weird. LCS chat is like fine. I'm just saying like it has the most negativity out of the three.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Dude, LPL is just like the whole chat is so much different. I mean, I honestly have a different take on it. Where like I think that in general, like most of the people that watch LCS are like NA players and NA fans, and I think that NA players just in general don't have that level of like competitiveness that European fans and European players have. And it's like it's when you go to EU and you see the behavior on the server and how people act. Like I just think that because LPL and LEC is during EU times, you just get people with different mentalities where like a lot of NA viewers like, and I even like go to I try to like source this, and I'll watch some of like Travis's shows and I'll listen to the callers and what they say, and a lot of them don't actually care about the level of play. They just want to like enjoy the games, and they feel like people like us with our like takes, because they're not positive or they don't portray NA in a good light, it makes it harder for them to enjoy the games. Like, so
wait a minute.
Yeah.
The T1 CEO's in chat, Joseph Patrick Marsh, and he's spamming PJ Sugar emote. And I don't know if that's his way of saying NA's salt because it's sugar. Because I don't know if it's that deep, but I find it fucking hilarious. Holy shit.
There it is. Now we're getting the sugar.
There it is. PJ Sugar.
Thanks, Joe. Well, moral of the story, if you're a true homie and want to get better, go watch Dom and LS's overnight stream and be nice. And if you're only going to watch the LCS one, well, be nicer. Stop being straight caconas out there. Stop talking bad about my LCS that I helped make. Yeah, that was all I had. I'm tired. Dom is tired. LS is... Are you going to sleep, Ellis, or you got more to do?
No, I woke up at like I gotta make patch notes.
All right. Well, everyone,
you make the patch notes now. You don't even read them anymore.
No. So I get them
part
early.
of the T1 sponsorship.
Yeah.
No, I was just wondering if he like creates them now himself from scratch.
Oh, fucking! I wish, man. I wish they'd look way different.
Yeah, they would look way fucking different. I'd be like, so Ivern is now the only jungler that's playable. Perfect.
Oh,
all right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Facecheck. Appreciate all of y'all. We'll catch y'all next week. Make sure to support Dom, LS, myself on our socials. Head on over for more content over at VENN Esports, and of course the VOD of this episode. We'll catch y'all later. See ya.
Hey, I want more videos about esports. Well, thank goodness there's a place for you to do that. You should subscribe. You should subscribe. Why do you sound like me? I don't know. Subscribe.